First of all, let me wish a very happy New Year to all of the political drain and Canadian drain family. May it be a safe and healthy one, and may you put your thoughts into action swiftly with good intent and success in the year to come. And now, on to ripping somebody a new one.
We get to see the maple trees, maple sugar and the maple leaves. We get the biggest wheat fields growing tall. In Canada, where we see the reversing falls. In Canada, we get to see them all.
Well, I would have got around to it eventually, but Eva Manchilla 4766 commented 4 days ago under my last video that I should do a segment on Kevin O'Leary, the guy who wants to negotiate Canada away. So, this is my 12-point takedown. It's a long one. Get your tea. I'm ready to spill mine. And here we go again with another rich asshole trying to buy his way into politics and spheres of influence, making an ass of himself, kissing the ring of the felonious menace, and embracing and encouraging his sick and depraved fantasy of owning the Lib Trudeau by suggesting we merge the two countries together and demote him to governor. Mr. Wonderful is just another overrated, fake, safe, self-made billionaire TV screen evil scheming rip-off artist, and is mainly known for his character in the show The Shark Tank, which originated as a popular Canadian show called The Dragon's Den, in which he also starred, or to bully people around, being a fake businessman himself. The reason people call him Mr. Wonderful is because he wants them to. Based on one of his co-stars said sarcastically, "Well, aren't you Mr. Wonderful?" And he said, "That's right, I am." But the reason they call him Mr. Wonderful is because he wants them to, because Mr. Wonderful is an easier brand to remember than Kevin O'Leary. And just like with the Mango Maggot, it all comes down to marketing. And as for his supposed business savvy, like Trump, most of it is based on an image of success when the reality is quite different. It would rival Donald's for being a fraud and loser. Except that he actually did sort of come up with ideas on his own. And he has a TV star credits to make him tailor-made for the Mar-a-Lago set.
He began to appear on Canadian business and financial television, became a regular on the Business News Network, and eventually got his own show, Squeeze Play. This led him to be one of the investors on a show called Dragon's Den, which was the Canadian precursor to Shark Tank. O'Leary felt it was time to cash in on his newfound fame and start another business. He launched O'Leary Funds, a mutual fund focused on generating yield for investors, despite not having a background in investing and having denigrated mutual funds on TV previously. Remember, he's a good self-promoter.
He's a Canadian who also holds Irish citizenship due to his father's Irish heritage. He also obtained a UAE citizenship in order to be able to be a partner with Emirates on investments. The O'Learys are currently living in Miami Beach, with other homes in Toronto, Boston, Geneva, Switzerland, other places most likely. He's got a cottage in Muskoka, I believe. We remember his boat accident. His wife was driving, but yeah, I'll talk about that later. He grew up in an affluent suburban town, Mount Royal, northwest of downtown Montreal on the island of Montreal. He learned about his savings and investment stuff from his Lebanese descendant mother, who supported the family after his father died, and he went on to get an MBA in entrepreneurship from the Ivy Business School of Western Ontario. And his first business venture, Special Event Television, SET, which had limited success, showing local sports kind of shows in between hockey innings. It had such limited success, he was eventually bought out by one of his partners for $25,000. And then came SoftKey, computer software for Windows and Macs, that started up in a basement in Toronto with 2 other partners. And just as it was set to launch, this big key investor just dropped out last minute, and he had to use his own funds that he'd saved from selling this failed television venture and get a loan from his mom for $10,000. And the fact that it was a loan speaks volumes to me. She didn't just hand over $10,000 to her sonny boy. And so somehow Softkey survived, and then eventually acquired WordStar, Spinnaker Software, and the Learning Channel, TLC. They moved their headquarters to Cambridge, Massachusetts, but suffered millions in losses by the time TLC was bought out by Mattel in 1999, after which sales and earnings for Mattel dropped and O'Leary was fired. This was known as one of the most disastrous corporate acquisitions in recent business history, wiping out $3 billion of Mattel's shareholder value in a single day. A class action lawsuit accusing O'Leary and former TLC CEO Michael Perrick of misleading investors about the health of TLC and the benefits of its acquisition was settled in 2003. I hope his mom got the $10,000 loan back. Number 6. After a failed bid to buy Atari and plans to start a video gaming television channel that never materialized, he came crawling back to Canada, where he became a co-investor and corporate director of Storage Now Holdings. Afterwards, one of their partners of that filed a $10 million wrongful dismissal lawsuit, charging that they'd altered an agreed-upon compensation deal and illegally reduced Wheeler's share of the profits, while O'Leary and his partners claimed that Wheeler failed to reach performance targets. This is important because this is a tactic he's still using to this day, and is used in the Shark Tank too, where he'll invest in a startup company as long as he can control 51% of the shares, so that he can kick them out when he wants to and claim that they haven't performed or underperformed. More of this indentured servitude bullshit. Number 7, he founded a mutual fund management firm with his brother, which 6 years later had to pay penalties to the Autorité des Marchés Financiers, authority of financial markets, I guess, for violating certain technical provisions of the Securities Act, and was sold to Canoe Financial, owned by the Canadian businessman and former CBC Dragon's Den investor Brett Wilson. Remember that too. And then 8, you went on television, got a gig there. The Lang and O'Leary Exchange television show, where he insulted Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Chris Hedges, saying he sounded like a left-wing nutbar.
Capitalism, as Karl Marx understood, is a revolutionary force. It commodifies everything, human beings, the natural world, which it exploits for profit until exhaustion or collapse. And the bottom line is we don't have much time left. We are on the cusp of perhaps another major banking crisis in Europe, defaults in Greece, followed by Spain, Portugal. There's been no restrictions, no regulations of Wall Street. They've looted the U.S. Treasury. They've played all the games that they were playing before. And we're about to pay for it all over again.
Listen, don't take this the wrong way, but you sound like a left-wing nutbar. If you want to shut down every corporation, every bank, where are you going to get a job? Where are you going to work? Where's the economy going to go?
Hedges then said that'll be the last time he would agree to appear on the show, and compared CBC to Fox News. Well, we call it CBCNN. It's more like, but close. The ombudsman found that Leary's behavior violated the public broadcaster's journalistic standards. And then later on in a 2017 interview with CBC, he described Russia as neither an ally nor a foe. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. So naturally, after all these successes, he would set his sight on politics. In 2016, he made an offer to invest $1 million in the economy of Alberta in exchange for the resignation of Premier Rachel Notley.
This is an incredibly stupid idea, and let me explain why. This government is shameless. It can't rein in its spending. It can't run the province like every other family in the province has to run itself on budget. Why can't government, instead of always proposing new taxes, simply make itself smaller and stop wasting money? If I were living in Alberta right now, I would take to the streets with flames and fire. This is insane. They have all the royalties and assets and taxes from one of the largest resources in the world, the Canadian oil sands, and they have a government that can't run itself? Shame on them.
Well, let's agree, first of all, that deficits are very wrong and that Canadians shouldn't take them lying down except under extraordinary circumstances like right after a credit crisis. Other than that, we send them tax dollars. They should spend it the way they said they were going to. But wouldn't you also agree, longer term, that it would be better to lower other taxes, including income taxes, and raise the sales tax? The sales tax is a really good way to get, especially people like you, to pay tax. You have many, many means at your disposal to avoid tax on your income. You take it offshore, you take it to other jurisdictions, you take it in the form of dividends that most of us can't do. But a sales tax you can't avoid. You love your Prada suits, you will pay a sales tax on that, and that works for everybody.
You know, Amanda, first of all, I don't do any of those things because I'm in the financial services industry and I'm a chairman of a mutual fund company. I pay my taxes. But let me tell you something about government, and this goes across all the provinces. We have three flaming examples now of mismanagement. We have Ontario, we have Quebec, and now Alberta. I think it's time to actually fess up to something. There's a tremendous amount of mediocrity in provincial governments because we don't pay them enough.
What did you say? What the fuck did you just say?
And then when Stephen Harper resigned as the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, speculation grew about whether O'Leary would run for the leadership election. And then Maxime Bernier, a conservative Quebecois politician, called him a tourist for wanting to be prime minister without even being able to speak French, despite the fact he was born and raised in Quebec, in the heart of Montreal. But he was on an island unto himself.
The right decision by dropping out of the leadership race, and he dropped out for one simple reason. He couldn't speak French, and he couldn't win in Quebec and communicate with the 25% of Canadians who speak French as a first language.
O'Leary responded that he was taking French lessons and promised to learn French for the next federal election. Do your homework, O'Leary. Don't pay some kid to do it for you. After he officially entered the leadership race later, though, former Dragon's Den co-star Arlene Dickinson said he was too self-interested and opportunistic for the office of Prime Minister. Previously mentioned former Dragon's Den co-star W. Brett Wilson endorsed O'Leary, citing there's a difference between O'Leary's business persona and his TV persona. Oh yeah, sure, Brett. How's that persona doing after you bailed his ass out when his and his brother's business tanked?
You know, as Kevin O'Leary, a former Dragon of yours, with you, are you surprised to hear that he is entering the leadership race?
No, I wasn't surprised to hear he was entering the race. I mean, Kevin, as we all know, as all Canadians know, he's an opportunistic man, and he would have seen the opportunity to have even more fame and attention than he has already when he stepped into the race.
So you think that that's why he's in this, for the fame and for the attention?
I think that's pretty typical of Kevin. His style is to make sure that he is front and center and getting attention, and he uses his persona to do that. So I definitely think that that's a piece of it.
Did he ever talk to you about getting involved in politics, or did he ever mention it?
Never mentioned it to me, no.
So why do you think this is happening now, based on what you know of him?
Listen, I had the unique opportunity to sit beside Kevin for several years and watched him day in and day out and week in and week out, and watched as he dealt with everyday Canadians who had aspirations to build businesses and to do great things with their lives. And, you know, the only filter Kevin ever applied was whether or not he was going to make money. And unfortunately, that's not a filter that you want to see, or the Conservative Party should want to see, or Canadians would want to see in terms of their leader. I mean, you have to have compassion and empathy, and these are two things that I never saw him use. And a great example of that was Hope Blooms, a story that many Canadians know about, where you had underprivileged inner city kids trying to do something for themselves and for their community, and he couldn't get past the fact that he wouldn't make money at it and be able to understand that this was just something that he should do because it was the right thing to do.
No, number 10, in the same way as he abandoned other ventures and backers or been dumped by them, he dropped out of that race, stating that even though he still thought he could win, his lack of support in Quebec would make it hard to beat Trudeau in 2019, and it would be selfish for him to continue. And he went on to sue Elections Canada and Canada's Federal Elections Commissioner in 2019 over campaign finance laws, which limit Canadians to spending just $25,000 of their own money for their leadership campaign. At the time, O'Leary still owed $430,000 to creditors and proposed to Elections Canada that he pay off the debt now with his own money and fundraise the money later, which was turned down since this would be illegal. He said that the law promoted mediocrity and some rich people would be discouraged from running and hurt the businesses that had pledged money for his failed leadership campaign. This guy is you can't win for losing. You can't lose for losing either. You can't, I don't know, you just can't. He also argued that the laws restricted his Section 2 Charter right to free expression. He's trying out that First Amendment shit here. Shit kicker from Alberta too. Or I mean, he wishes he was. And now, number 11, his latest trick is to pop out of the opportunistic hat to swing his club at Mar-a-Lago with the rest of the old used car salesman, retirement culture club full of eager support to sell out our country and the country of his birth to get yet another tax break and skip out on his creditors, his shareholders, employees, and other responsibilities. I hear you want into the crypto market now, you liar, you trash that as fake too, you grifter. A very narcissistic tactic that mirrors the orange buffoons too, to blame others for your failures and claim victimhood at all costs.
About a year ago, we published this video about O'Leary's massive Bitcoin flip-flop. Basically, O'Leary started buying Bitcoin in 2017, but as late as 2019, he went on CNBC saying that it's a scam. The price started increasing in 2020, he finally disclosed his crypto positions. Not only did he disclose his personal Bitcoin positions, he shifted his investment focus to focus primarily on crypto. He changed his Twitter profile picture to have blue laser eyes, which has become common practice amongst crypto enthusiasts. He also started wearing sweatpants and flip-flops during his television interviews, which was an attempt to appeal to the younger generations. Everything from his antics on Shark Tank to his Twitter profile art are carefully crafted to create the public image of a trustworthy and sophisticated investor. But over the past month, the reputation he had spent the past decade building up has been crushed, and probably to an unreparable level. O'Leary was paid $15 million by FTX to become a paid spokesperson for the company. After FTX filed for bankruptcy, it quickly became clear that the entire company was a massive fraud. At this point, O'Leary could have admitted he was wrong, apologized, and donated his $15 million influencer fee to FTX's victims, and promised to conduct more due diligence in the future. This could have saved what little of his reputation remained. However, instead of returning his $15 million, he continued defending SBF, and even said that he would consider investing with him in the future.
Well, number 12. Canadians remember the boating accident that happened in 2019. O'Leary and his wife Linda were involved in a fatal crash on Lake Joseph in Muskoka, Ontario, when their boat hit another, and a 64-year-old man and a 48-year-old woman ended up losing their lives.
Kevin and Linda were on a boat in Lake Joseph, which is north of Toronto. Linda was reportedly behind the wheel when it crashed into another boat. The passengers, Gary Potash and Suzanne Brito, both died. Suzanne's family is now suing the O'Learys. Attorney Lonnie Coombs just reviewed the court docs.
To be civilly liable for wrongful death, they have to be able to prove that the person did some act which then caused the death of the victim.
A GoFundMe page was set up to raise money in Suzanne's memory. Her family is seeking $1.5 million with this lawsuit.
This victim is a mother of 3 children. That's something that the attorney can talk about, the impact it will have on these 3 children having to grow up without their mother.
O'Leary said in a statement that the other boat did not have its lights on and fled the scene. The police stated that both boats left the scene to attend a location, and both parties called 911. Linda was charged with careless operation of a vessel under the Small Vessel Regulations of the Canada Shipping Act, a charge that carries a maximum of 18 months imprisonment and a $10,000 fine. But when the prosecutor declined to press for jail time, she was found not guilty, while the other boat operator was charged with failing to exhibit navigation light while underway. Something else smelling fishy in that shark tank, don't you think? And pardon, monsieur, you've been popping up on Fox and everywhere else you can grab a headline. I've seen multiple repeats of your damn stupid quotes about how every Canadian wants to hear about this. We're all interested. We're all talking about it. Oh yeah, we want to hear more about it. It sounds to me just like when the orange one says, "Oh, many people tell me." Lots of people are saying, yeah, rings about as true. And pardon, monsieur, your country didn't want you to be a party leader or a candidate for prime minister either, and you've been banned from speaking on CBC after your insulting behavior. You claim to know what most Canadians want or thinking, and piss off now, get a real job, you 15-minute fame-grabbing wanker. We're still part of the Commonwealth, and you're there parroting Putin's world-carving plans, you Simba-playing monkey! To someone who'd go to any length and shove everyone else under the bus to keep up his facade of success and power. He's just a small, sad, unwanted, fatherless, and needy, not very wonderful wizard. Hope you and Jordan Peterson enjoy your self-pity.
Welcome to moving to America formally.
I guess that's what happened, isn't it?
How do you feel about it?
There are decided advantages to being here. The issue with the College of Psychologists is very annoying, to say the least, and it's become uncomfortable for me in my neighborhood in Toronto. That's how it is at the moment.
So you're thrilled to be here, is what you're saying, in other words.
Vous espèce de merde. Good riddance, eh? Happy New Year, everyone else! Stay tuned for more on Political Drain Canadian Edition.
Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.